All right. Good evening, y'all. We'll start this again. My name is Allison, for those of y'all that don't know. And I just wanted to talk a little bit with Kim and Megan, and I will let y'all sort of take it away and talk about the amazing things that y'all have been doing, maybe what changes you've had, whatever, that led to such incredible growth in March. So I'm not going to take any time up. I'm going to let y'all run with that. Y'all are awesome.
Drum roll
Thank
for
you,
Megan.
Allison.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna take shifts.
That
Yes.
works.
So when Kim and I started talking about, what March was like for both of us, we really came to the conclusion that a lot of mindset shifts led to action. And so I'm going to talk about mindset because I think that was the biggest shift for me. And it really started in February. So I've been taking Plexus products for 3.5 years now, but I've been doing the business for about 2 years, just 2 years. Yeah. And I also work a full-time job in an office environment where, my time is limited on what I can do during my day. I've got 2 kids at home. And so my evenings are devoted to family and activities. So doing a business like this was never in the forefront of my mind, but I needed my products paid for. And so I knew I wanted to help people too, because my life was totally turned around completely by Plexus products. And so I knew I had a heart for sharing that. I just had to get brave and do it. So when I started, it was just that get my products paid for, help a few people. But along the way, this right here, you guys have really changed my perspective on the community that I've gotten out of this, a passion that has been planted in my heart by the Lord, by people who are pouring into me. And so I have steadily grown in my interest in growing a business, but I think my self doubt taught me that I just wasn't capable of this. I don't have the time for this. I don't have the network for this. I don't know how to do this. I've never done this before, but thankfully people pour into me and teach me a lot. But I had a huge mindset shift in February, and I'll tell you, I think it was God getting me to leaders retreat really changed that for me. Seeing that, spending time with people, and looking around and realizing that these are women, they're incredible women, but they're also a lot like me. There isn't a lot different between what we have going on in our lives. And so I said, I want to be a part of this, and I don't want to be here alone. I want to be the reason that some other woman is here enjoying this and helping others and finding passions that they didn't know they had. And so that increased, I think, a boldness in me. When I got back and I got to work, I just said, I know hands down what we have is a blessing. The products 100% work. There is no doubt in my mind about that. So why am I afraid to talk about that? And I think for me, it's a bit of a battle with the enemy, just saying I'm not good enough. I don't have that in me, but I do. And I know that. So I said, if I could get there, I can get other people there too. So I also invested a lot of time in my why, because if I was going to commit my time to this and the pockets of time that I do have, I needed to know why I was doing it. And so I sat and did a lot of work on, okay, what is my why? What is the why of others that I could anticipate and hope to help them, achieve and accomplish? I started growing my vision for what I wanted my business to be. I got really, really specific about things. And I knew that I wanted to start to do it at a faster pace so that I could enjoy it longer with my family. I knew that I wanted to get to a place where they could reap the benefits of my hard work too. And having them to support me, I needed that as well. And I'll have to tell one thing that I told Kim that really sparked something in me was my daughter's going to be 11 in a couple of weeks. And she has started her own Amazon cart of ruby colored decorations for when I make Ruby.
Oh,
She wants to throw me a Ruby party. And so having them encourage and believe in me was huge too. So that really did propel me into action, because these thoughts are great, but if we don't do something with them, we're not going to get where we want. So I specifically took bolder action than I had before. I did a lot of proactive reach outs. I was not afraid to talk about the opportunity anymore that this could bring for people in their lives. I embraced a confidence that I think has finally been planted in me. And so I did a lot of interacting boldly with others. I'll say too, the Diamond Rising series this past month was incredible for me. There were so many things I took away. And one of those that has really stuck with me, and thank goodness it was in like the first session, Jessica Heffley talked about becoming obsessed with serving her. So who is her to you? And I started envisioning the women that I would bring to Leaders Retreat, and the women that would be at convention with me, and the women who their kids were going to be blessed by what we were doing, and in their health too, because I needed this. And thank goodness someone I went to high school with shared about it. So why withhold that from people? Another thing that stuck with me was, don't make people's minds up for them. They need to know that this is here. And it's not my job to make their decision for them. And then one of the other things that I really, really got intentional about was interacting with people on social media. And so as soon as I would see somebody who complained about the fatigue or Hashimoto's, because that's what I have, I would message them directly and just say, hey, I am so sorry you're suffering. I have been there. Can I tell you a little bit about what has helped me? And sure enough, it would start a conversation, and I would get to know some of their health history, and they would be like, you know what? I haven't tried that before. And sure enough, that's how several of my new customers last month came to me. Was just that I decided, why let them suffer when I can at least tell them about this. And then Brittany Howard was talking about, I think that really lit a fire in me. One of her Star Diamond Rising was about expanding your network and doing it that way, just through authentic reach out and just saying, hey, I identify with that. Let me just tell you what's been going on. No pressure or anything like that. Thankfully in March, we had some great incentives from Plexus, and I definitely utilized Sweet Tea and dropping that. And then the free resets were incredible. But I will say too, like, getting bold with talking to people about the opportunity really helped, because I had 4 team members add people that month, and that's the first time that's ever happened for me. So I got to see people get those blessings too, and I'm super proud of them for being bold and sharing. So that's my part of the deal tonight.
congratulations, Meg. And I'm so excited to see what your daughter put together in that Amazon cart.
It looks good. I'm
because
not
it's
gonna lie.
happening.
I'm a party planner, so
Yes.
I have to release.
Okay. You're going to sit over there. Brooklyn, we are on a call and it's being recorded. Please don't. Please go sit. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Well, thank you, Meg, so much for sharing. And again, just so excited for your growth. And thank you guys so much for inviting both Meg and I here to be able to share a little bit about what happened in March when Meg and I were talking about like what we were going to share on. It's almost like the enemy saying, like, you have nothing to talk about, like you have nothing to share with these women. And so that almost gets in your head a little bit. And I'm so glad that you went first with speaking about mindset, because so much of this, like starting in February and what you shared, is, the work that needed to be put in order to have, the March that you did, and the things that we were able to implement. So I'm going to talk a little bit about just the growth that did take place in March for our team. And it was, like you said, Meg, like the first time that that's ever happened, because I've been with Plexus for 6.5 years, and I've never had anyone want to do this with me or alongside of me. It was always that I was doing it, it felt like by myself. And so that's a lot to shoulder. That's a lot to carry, thinking that you have to do it alone. And you certainly don't. Like God does not want us to do things alone. We are meant to be in community. And so some things that changed last month were definitely taking a look at why I was resistant to the things that I knew I needed to get done. And in sharing that with and saying those things out loud with my coach was time for me was my biggest excuse, telling myself that I don't have time. And so something that I did was in February, Kristen Boss has a podcast called Time Inventory, and it's a piece of paper and you literally keep track of your day throughout the day. It doesn't have to be pretty. I will get mine out and just show you my chicken scratch. Like that was my time inventory for the day. And it was taking account for the pockets of time that you have. It's taking account for, did I mute myself? There we go. Taking account for the time that I did have, because it's like I had such hesitation when it would come to do a post, to do a message. Someone would ask me interested about Plexus and I wouldn't respond. Like it just felt so heavy. And so I was trying to figure out, okay, if I'm going to sit down and answer these messages, how long is that really going to take me? And I did my time inventory. And so when my mindset started to set in of, oh, I don't have time for that, or that's going to take me too long, I actually would get out my sheet and said, no, it's going to take me this amount of time and we just need to get it done. So like you said, Megan, you're with everything you shared on mindset, it was just overcoming this hurdle and truly like God moving within me to like nudge me forward. No, like this needs to get done. You're working towards these goals, you're working towards your why. And so with that, time inventory was huge. And going on to authentic outreach, and I know Allison talked a little bit about this in the first portion of our training, but something I did at the end of February, beginning of March was Bob Heilig's training. Now, keep in mind, I only got through to week 2, but what was in like week 1 to week 2 and the homework that he gave, it wasn't hard. But oh my goodness, like week 2, he has you reflect on your content for the last 30 days. And that was really easy because I didn't have any. There was nothing for me to look back. I had one post in February. And so when I started March, I was telling my coach, like, I'm going to post 3 times. And that didn't happen. And so I was the following week saying, okay, there's no reason why I cannot be posting consistently. And so it scared me to say I am going to post consistently and stick to 5 days of posting. But I knew it was what I needed. And sure enough, as I started to post consistently and shifting my focus, and this is what Bob talks about, from transactional post or transactional information to transformational. So instead of posting in my post, come join my team or, try my products, focusing the shift more on how someone might feel with what I'm sharing. So sharing more about motivation or things that we experience in our journey, overcoming roadblocks, things like that. And then actually messaging them. So instead of just having the post there, throwing it on the wall and pray to God it sticks, being able to, if someone likes or comments or hearts your message, that, like Allison said, you are reaching out to them as soon as possible. Ideally, you don't want, a week to go by because then it's just awkward. Like the people don't know what we're talking about. So if you're posting something and I had shared something on scale anxiety, like a weight scale, not like scaling anxiety. But weighing yourself, and someone had hearted the message. And I said, thank you so much for your support with my post where I shared about scale anxiety. So I'm getting specific in what posts they actually interacted with, because girls, thank you. I appreciate sorry, you guys can hear in the background, they're right behind me. So you're thanking them for the support and your post, but you're being specific as to what you're thanking them for. And then asking them, has this something, or is this something that resonated with you? Or I would love your feedback in regards to that specific post. And so it just creates a conversation, like Allison said, like Meg said, and just gets the conversation going back and forth. So that was one thing that was very I think effective as far as creating new conversations, because I think we've all been there when we circle back to the same exact conversations that we've been having. And it's almost like we get stuck in that rut. So being able to have new conversations with those that are interacting with our content. And then addressing common objections up front. So I think a lot of us can relate as far as common objections that come up is cost being a factor, or we wait till the very end to talk about cost when we're talking about, the different systems that we'd maybe recommend based on how they're feeling. And it leaves it sometimes to be very awkward if we haven't asked the questions as far as how are you wanting this to align with your budget? Where are you wanting your budget to fall? Where are you wanting your price point to land so that you're comfortable and able to continue this going forward? Because we don't want you to just purchase it one time and never be able to purchase it again, but truly being able to make a lifestyle change. And so talking about that commitment to commit to this process, not just for 30 days, not just for 60 days, but continuing on. And if they are wanting to, or when you are asking those price point questions, and just letting them know that I want to make the best recommendation for you, but I also want to align with where you're wanting your price or your budget to land, or however you want to word that. And they're going to tell you, some people have shared, $200, some people have shared $100, and then you can help them make the best decision from there, maybe giving them two choices. But being bold and confident in those conversations and not shying away from those tough conversations, because it is awkward to talk about finances. It is awkward to talk about, or it can be awkward, but you would be doing them a disservice if you're not asking them those questions. And then they, one, can't continue with the products, because that was a lot of the feedback that was shared with my upline when they would reach out to my customers, was that it was something that they couldn't continue to afford. And so just having those conversations up front really did help to set the tone and the right expectations so that they know what to expect going forward. Let's see, taking conversations off of the app. So everyone remembers when Instagram went down a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, not fun. It was when Sweet Tea launched and I couldn't get access to my messages. But if you're transitioning the conversation off of Facebook, off of Instagram, off of Messenger, wherever the conversation may be, asking them, would you be open to talking by phone for maybe 10 to 15 minutes on this specific day? Or does text work better for you? If they're going to say phone, they're going to say text. They're still going to give you the permission to, 9 times out of 10, follow up with them on their cell phone. And so you have that direct communication with them, as opposed to the feedback that you get oftentimes is, sorry, like I'm not on here often. I don't check my messages. I didn't get the notification that you even messaged me. And so this just gives you a much more direct way to contact them if Instagram goes down, or if you can't seem to get in touch with them on Instagram or whatever platform. So that was, tip number 4. And let's see, and stories. This is one thing that I actually came across recently that I know a lot of people are talking about. Well, how do I increase my engagement in my stories? Sorry, how are we doing on time? Okay, we're okay. How do I increase my engagement in my stories? Well, a lot of times we'll put polls up, we'll put the little quiz box up, or we'll put a question box up. And a lot of times, those things just sit there in your stories. People aren't clicking on them. They're not answering or putting things in your question box. Has that ever happened to you guys? All the time? Me? Just me? Okay. Thanks, Austin. Randy. So one thing that I saw recently was that when you're doing your poll or a sticker, you're wanting to create it for your masses. So think about it like this. I did one recently for Dutch Brothers versus Starbucks. A lot of people can relate to that. They are going to vote one way or another because they're going to have an opinion about it. Or one of my girls messaged me a whole list of coffee shops local in Riverside that I can go check out. And I said, that is perfect. I will be sharing that. You're going to get much more authentic engagement in doing that for the masses than if you are tailoring it to a very, very small group of people. So think like what someone is going to have an opinion about one way or another. I did one the other day about sauerkraut. People either love it or hate it. Like there's no in between. And then specifically for your question boxes that you're putting in your story, leaving your question boxes for their opinions, because we love to give opinions on things. So when you are going in your stories and you're asking, we're in our stories often sharing things to others. We want to be able to also create a space for others to share with us because it's a give and take relationship. If we're constantly just sharing, but we're not receptive to have you try this or have you try that, it just creates that trust factor. And that's sometimes hard to do on Instagram or, social media. So this just helps to kind of bridge that gap. If you're going to do a question box, I need to go get my ring cleaned, like anything that you would think to Google or ask a girlfriend, put it in a question box. And I've seen a lot more engagement that way. So my last thing that I'm just going to share on was having a process when talking to potentials. And what I mean by that is I literally went to Emily Gibson's bio, and she has a health quiz or a health questionnaire, and it's nothing fancy. It's 8 questions. She asks about their goals. She asks about stress. She asks about sleep, and all of those things. And it's not complicated, but it's giving an outline. You okay? Oh, Lord. Pick it up, please. Giving an outline of what conversation you can have with your new VIPs. And so when you're starting a conversation, like if I was going to start talking to Meg and just say, hey, Meg, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me today. Here's kind of what I wanted to share on. I'm just going to be asking some questions just to get a better idea of what your goals are and what you may be looking for. So I'm going to ask just a couple of questions just to get your feedback. And so at the end, I can make the best recommendation for you based on your goals. I'll pause and just hold for some questions and share some questions that I get asked most commonly. And if that's something that you're ready to move forward with, I can share on next steps. Or if there's any hesitation that comes up for you, we can talk about it then. So you're giving them an outline of what they're expecting when they're talking with you. And it's giving you permission to ask the questions as opposed to just sending them 21 questions because nobody likes 21 questions. So anyway, can you say hi, baby? Oh, thank you. All the kisses. Thank you. So that's pretty much all I have to share on. Thank you. And Meg, I'll let you take it from here.
I know. We were talking about how our kids were probably going to have to be on, but thankfully my husband's church softball game got canceled, so he has mine. No, so we're happy to answer any questions, specifics. I know Kim gave a lot of great action items, so.
So a lot of people, this is actually for Kim, when she mentioned the Kristen Boss time inventory, a lot of people I feel like have that, I don't want to call it an excuse, but sometimes it is an excuse, right? Does she still have that? Is that in podcast form? I don't know if she can answer or at least type it.
Yes, so it is in podcast form. I will go to the podcast and find it, and then I will link it because that was super helpful. And then the only other 2 things I talked about Bob. And if you are wanting just help in regards to stories, this isn't something that you can listen to with your children in the car. So, but it is Colleen Nichols. She has her new book, Don't Make It Weird, or How to Be a Human on the Internet. But the last part of the book gives you her 14-day consistency calculation, which is really helpful to incorporate into your stories. But again, not a book that you can listen to with your children. So just forewarned.
Awesome. This call was great, guys. Like, it was wealth of information. I loved hearing about the mindset shifts and everything that you guys both have had. It's been incredible. So I truly appreciate you guys sharing with us tonight.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. And this little one. Okay, so can you say